something in the Venn diagram on that one. Let's speak with Miriam Cates, Conservative MP for Penistone and Stockbridge in Yorkshire. Miriam, good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, Ian.
It's never a dull day as a Conservative MP, right?
That's very true. It's not a slow news day.
Absolutely. What is going on here? We played a little clip, I don't know if you heard it, we played a little clip of Ian Duncan Smith, of course, who did amazing work in this area at the DWP over many years. And even before that job in opposition, he talked a lot about the areas and the problems and the pitfalls of long-term benefit claimants and the like. I don't think there's anyone in the land who doesn't understand someone who's genuinely long-term ill. But many of us, Miriam, are struggling to work out how 4 million people almost could really be off sick and cleared to stay off sick because of things like back pain. What's going on?
Well, I think we need a lot more information because that figure is stark. It's not only costing people opportunities in work and, livelihoods themselves. It's also costing the taxpayer. I think it's £22 billion a year the CSJ have put the figures on. The truth is we just don't have enough information. And like you say, there will be many people in that group of people who genuinely can't work and have no hope of working. There will be people who are there because they need, let's say, a knee operation and they can't get one because of backlogs in the NHS. But there will be people who shouldn't be on that list or perhaps need a bit of extra help, a bit of extra support to break down the barriers that they have to get into work. But the truth is we don't have enough information and we haven't had enough focus on these people. And that's why it ties in so closely with the debate on immigration, because if there is this huge group of people who could potentially be in the workforce but aren't, and we need to look closely at, how we can unlock that group of people, but it's really easy for employers to get people from overseas to come over and work cheaply. Well, why wouldn't the employers look to overseas? And then we're no closer to solving this problem of helping our own people back into work and back into the economy. So these two big stories of the day are actually two sides of the same coin, aren't they? Correct.
Yeah, I thought we were the only place that had spotted that, but I'm glad you're on script as well, Mira. I mean, it's interesting, is it? Do you think it's a coincidence that this list of people who don't have to go to work has grown since things like face-to-face meetings stopped?
Well, it's no coincidence. And if the universal credit claims are anything to go by, we know, the Secretary of State for Department of Work and Pensions, Mel Stride, has recently highlighted how many fraudulent universal credit claims there were during COVID, when obviously people didn't have to make face-to-face claims. So, I wouldn't want to speculate on the numbers, but of course some of those will be fraudulent claims. It's sad, but it's true. So of course we need to crack down on those, absolutely. But for things like anxiety and mental health, as Ian Duncan Smith did say in the article, I think that a lot of people actually getting back to work is the best thing you can do for your mental health. Being surrounded by other people, taking the focus off, some of the anxieties you're facing and thinking about other things. But people in that situation may need that bit of extra help, that bit of extra support from their employer, from their family, from their community. Those are the people who we should be focusing on, unlocking their ability to get back into work.
Do you sense that there is, the Conservatives, the government, have got their work cut out over the next, I don't know if you've got the secret info as to when that election date is, Miriam. I'm sure if you have, you're going to tell us now.
I don't know anything more than you, I'm afraid.
OK, I thought I'd give it a go. But nonetheless, whenever that happens to be 18 months, whatever it is, there's quite a lot of boxes that you guys have got to tick between now and then, right? And this is, obviously, the immigration is one, this feeds into it, this is another. There is a sense, there's a bit of a sense, even from people who naturally would be Conservative voters, get in touch with us and say there's a sort of an underpinning malaise going on in government right now, a decade and a half almost by the time you get to that next election. A lot of your core supporters are just a bit fed up. Do you think Conservative MPs understand that? Are you also feeling that on the Green benches?
We do sense that, and I think this immigration debate, the numbers that have been published today, the work that's been done on illegal immigration will be a defining moment of this government. And it is our last chance probably to show that we listened to 2016, we listened to 2019, we understand that this is one of the big issues facing ordinary voters. But I think one of the broader problems in the UK, and this is not just the government, but I suppose amongst the media and the government classes, is we focus on the wrong things. When people talk about the economy and how big our economy is, they mean the kind of total GDP. But that doesn't tell you anything about ordinary people's lives and whether they're getting more prosperous, whether they're getting more work opportunities. And the same with immigration. Okay, importing millions of people into our workforce grows the overall size of our economy, but it hasn't grown our economy per capita. And that's what would make the difference to ordinary people's lives. So instead of just talking about the economy as this big kind of spreadsheet that we all have to serve, we need to think about how it affects ordinary people's lives. And that enables to look at things like immigration and people on sickness benefit completely differently, instead of just numbers on the spreadsheets, but actually what are the barriers that people face into work? Why aren't employers training up our own young people? Why are we allowing so many people to come into this country on such relatively low salaries? These are the questions we need to be asking, not this just big, numbers on a spreadsheet. What does it mean in the round?
Do you think, Rishi, a final question, Miriam, do you think Rishi Sunak gets all of this?
I think he does, and I think for all that Boris Johnson kind of stood for, the realignment in people's minds, actually under his premiership, we massively liberalised the migration system. We allow people in on much lower salaries, more students, etc. Whereas I do think Rishi Sunak recognises that that's politically damaging, it's economically damaging, and we've seen just this week the announcement on the student visas. That's a good start. But next, we need to look at these work visas very carefully and how we can reduce the number of people coming into low-paid jobs in this country.
Did you manage to watch Rishi on This Morning?
I didn't, I'm afraid. I was doing constituency stuff.
He goes for the big hitters when he wants to be challenged on the issues of the day, it seems. Alison Hammond put him under the microscope. Do you think that was the